It's here, my god, the day that has been prophesized. The Boys in Blue DLC has been released, and I'm gonna tell you all about it. Along with the paid DLC, we also got Clover for free, an LMG, Twitch drops, glitches, a delay in release, cards, and news. So without any more delay, let's get into it. Let's start off with the guns that we got in this update. Speaking on the free side, we got the first LMG of Payday 3 with, and I will try to pronounce this, with the Blyspruta MX63. Blyspruta being the Swedish word for lead sprayer, based off the Knight's Armament Company Light Assault Machine Gun, or CAC ALMG. Officially revealed in 2017, the gun fires the 5.56 NATO round, which is the same round used by the AR-15, aka the CAR-4. Damage-wise, it does a tad less than the CAR-4, being only slightly better than the Northwest B9 when it comes to damage. This does tend to make it feel a little anemic when it comes to raw damage and armor penetration. However, do not let those statements fool you. This thing shreds. With a base magazine of 100 rounds, it has an insane fire rate and ammo pickup. The only downside being the lengthy reload and intense recoil and muzzle flash. Hipfire does mitigate the sight obstruction, however I'm certain that the devs at Starbreeze purposefully picked the most obtuse and sight obstructing iron sights for this thing to come with at default. I tried my best to modify the thing to work around its weaknesses, and that's when I discovered this. For some reason, when you apply the vertical grip to the Blyspruta, it decides to just do that. It just starts on the rail and then says LOL and moves 3 inches over. And it only does it in the menu. It's fine on the in-game view model, but in the lobby screen and menu, it floats like that. But overall, the LMG is great. It may struggle with heavy SWAT, and shields are this thing's real enemy. But for it being the first LMG in Payday 3, it's great. Although it does raise my concerns for later weapon additions. Having certain weapons that can inflict mass damage be set aside as temporary power-ups is a neat idea on paper, however it then limits the amount of weapons that players can have normally. Payday 2 got away with this because it relegated weapons to primary and secondary, with plenty of rifles, pistols, and grenade launchers for both slots. Payday the Heist handled this problem by having 3 weapon slots, primary, secondary, and handgun. I would prefer an option or skill line in the future to give us a 3rd weapon slot, but I don't have a clean solution for this weapon power problem. And at the moment, neither does Starbreeze. The next free weapon is the Queen's Revenge, the new signature rifle for Clover in Payday 3. The gun is based on the Knight's Armament L403A1, another AR platform rifle. The weapon was adopted in 2023 as the new service rifle for the Royal Marines and Ranger battalions, which, speaking in terms of continuity, is the best choice for the new primary for Clover, seeing as her last weapon, the Queen's Wrath, was based on the L85A2, the UK's previous service rifle. In-game, the Queen's Wrath is a free preset of the CAR-4. Performance-wise, it's alright. The gun is very stable, and with the mods that come built into it, it lends its playstyle well to close quarters and burst fire. At longer ranges, however, the spread does tend to become a problem, and at the end of the day, it's still just the CAR-4. Armor penetration is still not optimal. Even with the ranged barrel, raw damage isn't enough to take down heavy SWAT. Also, the gas block on the ranged barrel is still clipping through the handguard. Please fix this, Starbreeze. But overall, comparing the Queen's Wrath to its other CAR-4 siblings, this is easily my favorite of the presets that we have right now. However, this gun does suffer from a major problem that all the other guns that have been added so far suffer from, but I'll get into that later. The next weapons all belong to the Boys in Blue weapon pack, and are all, in Starbreeze words, themed around weapons that would be found in a police station's armory. The first weapon is the ATK-7, based off the MP5A2 by H&K, an iconic SMG that has been in almost every video game that has ever been made. Thank you, Internet Firearms Database. The original weapon was made in the mid-60s as a 9mm submachine gun that was a favorite with Special Forces and SWAT. Visually, in-game, the gun is a faithful recreation of the real-world weapon, although at the handguard, the devs elected to go with a ported rail version rather than the more classic smooth plastic one. Modifications-wise, the gun has at its disposal the regular muzzle devices, sights, and foregrips, However, it also comes with a unique silencer called the Whisper Wrap, the iconic hollow frame stock, a more modern rubber frame stock, and 3 specific grips that change the weapon's trigger group. Now, despite the options presented, I would have liked to see the iconic navy trigger group as one of the options, and for the barrel to become the SD version from Payday 2. But as a returning weapon from the first Payday game, it's not bad, and I would like to see some more modifications for parts that I would like to see in future updates. Now, performance-wise, that's a different story. The gun fits in nicely with the other SMGs of Payday 3, doing slightly more damage than the FIC PC-9, and a bit less than the War 45, making it the strongest of the 9mm SMGs. Ammo pickup on this thing is fantastic. Despite it having the second slowest fire rate of SMGs, this thing shreds. It has no problems taking out SWAT in close quarters, despite having pretty big spread and pretty much not being viable at long ranges by default. I still have a lot of fun using this thing, although I do find it odd that you spit out a round when you try to put another one in the chamber. The next weapon is the Adelig RG5, based on the G3A3, also by H&K. Another popular police rifle, this weapon is chambered in 7.62 NATO, or more commonly known as 308, which makes this technically a battle rifle, similar to the VF7S and the SAA-144. The gun sits in a happy middle ground between the SCAR and the AK, with having relatively moderate recoil while still having raw damage to back it up. Now, when you first use the gun, you may be tempted to just spray and pray with it like any other assault rifle in the game. However, this is a rare weapon in Payday 3 that can one-shot headshot heavy SWAT with just edge, meaning that if you take your time in between your shots, you'll have much better results. However, that is also to say that you can't treat this thing like a regular rifle. Automatic fire is there for a reason, so pick a style that you prefer. Visually, the weapon is modeled faithfully. However, at default, the weapon is missing its iconic HK stock and green furniture, having them replaced by a more modern, collapsing AR-style stock and M-lock handguards. However, the mods for the weapon do contain some parts for the more recognizable green color scheme. The weapon shares its grips with an MP5, so nothing new there. However, it does possess a unique vertical grip known as the rigid handguard stop. Overall, it's a wonderful addition to the game. If I were to ask for any future mods that could be added, I would like to see some more mods to recreate the G3 SG1 from Counter-Strike, with a high-power scope and cheek razor, and more importantly, a handguard with a bipod to recreate the HK91A2 that Val Kilmer uses in Heat. Heat being the chief source of inspiration for Payday, I find it only fitting if the devs paid homage to where this franchise's roots are. Lastly, we have the Bull Kick 500, based on the Smith & Wesson Model 500. Now, this isn't a police weapon per se. Law enforcement for most of the 20th century did carry revolvers for their accuracy and power, but those pistols were commonly chambered in .357 or .44 Magnum, not the wrist-destroying 500 Magnum. If the team wanted to continue the cop theme, something like the Colt Python would have been more fitting. But I throw all that out the window when I get my hands on this thing because it is damn good fun to use. This thing one-shots anything that isn't a bulldozer, and despite it being only 5 shots, it is very well balanced with its power and range. This is my go-to shield destroyer. It also plays very nicely as a hostage gun. One of the most annoying things in Payday 3 is the new hostage-taking mechanic, but every time you try to optimally use one, some cop from 300 miles away will run up through the crowd and stun you as his audition for becoming a cloaker. But with the Bull Kick, one shot is all that it takes. Of course, a hand cannon like this comes with its downsides. The firing speed and recoil is immense, and if you don't take the time to make sure you land your shots, you'll be wasting your already small ammo pool for missed shots, and cops will be still shooting you. This is not a hip-fire gun, or at least the way I play with it. But of course, to each their own. Speaking of modifications, the gun comes with 3 custom barrels, a smooth cylinder, 2 custom handles, and a unique red dot sight. Now I can get into the problem with these guns and the weapons of syntax error. Now, let me get one thing clear. I don't have a problem with guns having specific parts that are unique to them, that have similar stats to other things, or can't be used on similar guns. You can't put an HK grip on a Car 4 or a bull kick grip on a Castigo. But what I do have a problem with is parts that you can and should be able to use on other guns. Like, why can't we use the Sharp Shot Clear Tag optic from the bull kick and put it on the Castigo or the Striker? Or why can't we put the flat side slab grip on the Blyspruta? And why can't we put the Whisper Wrap on the Fick or Ziv? At the end of the day, we as customers are paying real money for these items. I would like, at the very least, to be able to get more mileage out of the content I buy by being able to mix and match with the mods that I get. That's what Payday 2 did. A weapon pack wasn't just a weapon pack, it was also a mini mod pack that could be used with other guns that I already had. This is something that I feel has been a problem with Payday 3's DLC guns, and I hope to see this rectified sooner rather than later. But overall, as a pack, the weapons are great. Nothing overtly breaks the game in a pay-to-win scenario. Each gun has a role and does it well. You could say that they feel a bit too much like side grades to be worth the cost of entry, but if you're a fan of the HK Slap and just want to have fun with a hand cannon, $3.99 ain't that bad. Also, let us extend and retract our folding stocks. The MP5 is a shower while the G3 is a grower. Along with weapons, we also got the Tailor Pack for Boys in Blue, all themed around prison. For the sake of ease, I'll cover these in the configuration they are presented on the store page. The first suit being the Flight Risk, a typical orange jumpsuit, but with a chest bag, implying that whoever is wearing it is planning an early release. The gloves and mask paired with this one are the Suave Grabbers and the Mad Mask Raider. Next up, we have the Jailbird, a suit themed around an ex-con getting back in the game, with the gloves and mask being the Star Cut and Clown Punk. After that, we have Riot Con, a suit themed around a rioting prisoner who has taken the guard's vest. This suit is notable because of the broken handcuff on the left arm and the words Treaty written across the chest, the name of John Concord's company and successor to Murky Water. The mask and gloves being the Killer Canine and Digiswipe. Lastly, we have Supermax, based off a typical guard uniform out of prison. The mask and gloves paired with this being Clowninator and Elmer's. Overall, the suits are really nice. My personal favorites are Jailbird for being so low-key and plain looking, and Flight Risk for bringing back Hoxton Breakout. Although there is some pretty nasty invisible wrists with a few of the gloves, the pack is pretty nice all around. But along with the paid masks, we also got free ones. The Hooded Haunt, Vicious Warrior, and Old Bob. Vicious Warrior is my favorite just due to it being a Lord of the Rings mask. But along with typical free content, we also got Twitch drops. We got a handful of stickers and a bacon charm, but to also continue the pig theme, we got a pig mask called the Scared Pig. Visually, the mask shows more of a happy pig, but that plays into the double entendre of its naming scheme. I also enjoy the tattoos and piercings that can be seen on the mask, as it's a common practice to have tattoo artists test their skills on pig skin. Overall, as Twitch drops, they're pretty good. Nothing that you'll be missing out on, but if you do want them, all it takes is watching a Starbreeze partner stream with drops enabled. I earned mine by watching the strongest man in London make his boys blue.
This is quite tight. Now I put it on too tight. Autoerotic asphyxiation.
Next up, we have the reintroduction of Clover, and she's every bit as great as she was in Payday 2. Visually, her mask is mostly the same, however now missing the purple highlights on her cheeks and forehead. I personally wish they had kept the purple. Leaving it out makes her mask a bit plain, but it's grown on me since then, and the green does play in more to her being Irish. Her suit has also gone from a regular black with an unbuttoned shirt to another knee-length black coat with a gray shirt and black tie to boot. This is a darker progression for her design, and it makes sense lore-wise, which I'll get into at the end of the video. But speaking back onto her mask for a bit, a blank version of her mask was also added to the vendors. However, it disappoints me that the description of her mask is the same as her character bio. This only bums me out because the other blank versions of Heister's masks have given us insight to the character's backstory or their personal beliefs, like how Chain's mask reveals that in the military he received a bad conduct discharge / BCD, or how Dallas views his mask as the culmination of the criminal American dream, that hard work and tenacity can bring anyone to the top. But with Clover, it's just her bio copy-pasted. Hopefully they can update this in the future. In-game wise, Clover is just on point as she ever was, making wisecracks and giving colorful commentary as ever.
Let's play get down or I'll fucking kill you.
Personality-wise, she has definitely grown a bit colder and more standoffish compared to 2. This can easily be seen with her menu idle animations. They've definitely dialed up her aggression, and Clover is an outright gangster in this, not taking shit from anyone. Strike that up to one more personality trait that she stole from Hoxton. But speaking of Hoxton, her call-out lines for him do have a tongue-in-cheek slip-up, with Clover begin to say Houston, then correct herself and say Hoxton.
Hey, Hoxton.
Perhaps she did this just to get under Hox's skin, or maybe a real slip-up. It's Clover, it's up to you. She is missing her loud, screaming intimidation lines for civs during an assault, but overall, she's a great addition. Lastly, before we get into the heist, we have the addition of Solo Mode, an experimental beta that is the first big step towards offline mode, releasing later this year. The mode runs many functions previously held only on online servers. Now, they do say that there may be reduced performance, but I haven't noticed any. But another thing they said, to encourage people to try out solo mode, double cash is being given out as reward for a heist completion. This is a great incentive if you're in a bind for more cash for things like C-stacks, seeing as that low-paying heists like No Rest for the Wicked and Dirty Ice now pay as high as $1 million a run on Overkill. However, that is to say that there are not a handful of glitches that came out with this new mode. My first time running Boys in Blue in Stealth, I finished the heist, but the escape van never came. At the time, I thought, oh well, and played on a live server for the stealth experience. The van showed up. But then, when I went to play Cook-Off, the van didn't show there either, turning these guys' 1.5 hour long cook into nothing. This is a game-breaking glitch and has to be addressed as soon as possible. But another actual beneficial glitch I found was that on Road Rage. It just gives you double money. No joke, I got this a few times and the money was tangible. I bought C-stacks with it. So all in all, not bad. Game-destroying glitch on one hand, maybe we can think about this another time. Finally, we have the namesake of this update, the Boys in Blue heist. The setup is that we as the gang are contracted to steal gold bars that have been confiscated from Vlad by a corrupt police lieutenant. In Loud, the objectives are to blow up the evidence room wall, attach a hook from a tow truck to the vault door, and rip that thing off and make off with the loot. Escape has us load up into an armored police car and drive off. But for bonus rewards, we can steal encrypted police files from the servers for Vlad, netting us more money in the payout. The overall Loud experience in this heist is fantastic. The objectives, while simple, are fun to execute and play through, and the map is teeming with detail and atmosphere. It really makes you feel like Batman. Feel like you're playing through a rundown Bronx police department. However, the heist does move down a peg when, in practice, you don't actually get to play through the interior of the building. Aside from the keys for the car and the optional file download, 70% of this heist takes place in the parking lot. But I can almost forgive it because of the sheer number of cops and arcadey fun that I have while playing this one. It plays like a Payday 2 heist, with the more open area and snipers actually having a big part to play in this, unlike most interior heists in the game. However, when comparing this heist to Payday 2, it's nothing special. The closest thing I can compare this to is, ironically, Breakfast in Tijuana, another police station heist. But at least with that we had some more level diversity with the office interior, the holding cells and parking garage, and ultimately the parking lot with the escape. Payday 3 really struggles to pull off heist act structure. This heist almost does it. Like, there's areas to play with, but nothing really impactful. RNG wise, the map doesn't have much change in it in Loud. The only things that move around are the keys for the car, which will always be in one of 3 places upstairs, and the placement of the cars containing the C4. Everything else is really set in place. I'd just like to see a little mix-up from Starbreeze at this point. Maybe move some of the trucks around, block off one exit and force players to play around it, bring back some map destruction like Counterfeit. What we have is good, but has been done better in other games. One quick thing that I'd like to add is that when going Loud, because 99% of all guards on this map are cops, they won't become hostages when the police arrive and will still behave like beat cops, meaning that if all the cops inside aren't dead when the first responders arrives, Loud will start early with no room to trade. Now, despite me sounding very pessimistic about the Loud experience, don't get me wrong, I like this heist and it brings back a lot of fun that I had while playing Payday 2. However, the sort of held back ambition just sort of disappoints me more with a concept that could have been great. Also, the weird surface of the sun thing that happens when you go inside the vault and how the hallway makes it look like you're covered in oil is just plain weird. This game has a weird problem with lighting for inside and outside areas, and I don't know why. But speaking on the stealth experience, that's just as solid as Loud. The objectives in stealth are as follows. Make it into the second floor and neutralize the captain, either with force or by stealing the donuts from reception. That, by eating in Loud, give you full edge rush and grit. But once you're in there, hack the captain's PC, fix the hack, and locate the correct desk so you can take the fingerprints of the cop who has vault access. Then get inside the locker room and get the red key card, which would be found through the PC hack, telling you the specific locker. After that, it's as simple as make it past the cop on guard, use the fingerprint scanner, use the red card for the gate, and make off with the loot. There's an interesting idea with the weighted floor closing the gate. On the PC hack, it says that it sounds the alarm, but in reality it just shuts the gate if there's more than one heister on there. Which all that really means is that you have to send loot through the chute in the wall since you can't walk it out. But speaking on the gold for a second, I like how it's balanced in this game. In Payday 2, it was a heavy boy, especially at launch. It was lightened over the years, but even then, it's still the heaviest loot type you'll run into in regular gameplay. But with Payday 3 letting you run with most bags, they balance gold around taking away that ability, and slowing the player down slightly. I actually found myself taking only one bag at a time across the parking lot, rather than being slowed down and becoming easy pickings for snipers. But back to stealth. You then walk the loot around to the van wherever it spawns and finish the mission that way. However, we also have our share of optional loot and objectives. With restarting the PC hack, we have the then 3 optional objectives to bug the lieutenant's office, car, and locker. Along with that, we also have 4 extra bags of loot. Aside from the gold, we have 2 bags of cash that can be found upstairs, most likely bribe money, and 1 bag each of rare earth minerals from Road Rage, and a bag of coke, respectively, in the evidence room. RNG-wise, the stealth is a bit better in my opinion, especially with the security room being able to spawn in 3 different spots on the map. This is really good for repeat playthroughs and reminds me of the best parts of Payday 2. Overall, the heist is solid. It doesn't suffer from a lot of the pitfalls that the other maps have in my opinion, but there's still no clean way to have RNG feel natural in this heist. I do like that when it comes to progress in the heist, there's carryover. For instance, if you get the red key card in stealth but the heist goes loud, you can still use the card to open the vault on the garage doors for the getaway. So there is an incentive to get the card still, or stealth as far as you can, but as a standalone heist, the best I can give it is 7 out of 10. What it does well, but with the lack of interesting objectives that really just boil down to wait around for drills, having most of the map play out in a parking lot, it's just not everything that it could have been. But overall, a solid, well done heist that I'd recommend you play if the price is right for you. Now, let's touch on the story. After more or less putting around for the core heist story, and then tying back in murky water with Concord's reveal and syntax error, the story with Boys in Blue is actually picking up, and I'm starting to get invested and like the direction we're going in. The setup for the heist is that after syntax error, the gang lays low until Vlad calls, revealing that he has encrypted emails from Concord that he is willing to give the gang for a price. That price being hiring the gang to steal his impounded gold that the corrupt Lieutenant Blythe seized after she planted drugs at his legitimate cash for gold shop. In order to get the files, we steal the gold for Vlad, but to sweeten the deal, he'll cut us in on the gold's profit. At the same time the deal is being worked out, Vlad receives a call from Clover, who has already made contact with Vlad after receiving instruction on how to do so from Dragan while in hiding. Vlad links the call, and Dallas and Clover reunite. Clover says she would have gotten in touch sooner, but the gang is hard to get in touch with, being so secretive. Dallas fills Clover in on the heist, and she is more than ready to rejoin the gang, taking the first flight to New York. The heist is done canonically in Loud and given a proper date, June 29th, going off of the news report from the Gateway Report, with a crew of Dallas, Clover, Hoxton, and Wolf. I wonder how Hoxton feels after seeing his former partner in crime again after thinking that she's been dead for over a year. But after getting back to the safe house, Clover remains held up away, most likely with Vlad, and talks to Dallas about her retirement. Apparently walking away entirely wasn't in the cards for Rochelle, as she went back to the UK and started a gang of her own, doing as she said what Hoxton did for her, and teaching the new generation of heisters how to be professional, while most likely still living in her castle from the Payday 2 ending. However, when Concord's mercenary hit squad came for her, her whole crew was killed in the crossfire, leaving Clover to mourn their deaths at so young an age, and swearing revenge on Concord. At the same time, the decryption is complete and we find out what Concord has been up to since the Syntax Error heist. He's been moving around a prisoner, who is currently held up at Rikers Island Penitentiary, and is going to move him to a private prison. That prisoner, Franklin Steele, or as we know him, Houston. That bastard Concord is going after Houston. While this shocks Shade and Clover, this enrages Dallas as he channels his inner crew chief and orders everyone back to the safe house. So, the little brother of Nathan Steele is in jail. It's clear, of course, that if Concord is successful in moving Houston, that he most certainly will be killed to get back at Dallas and the gang. But this is not the end of our resident ghost. After all, we do live in the land of the free. And that's it. That's Boys in Blue. Overall, it's been a good update. Lots of things to play with, the story is actually picking up, and the first look into solo mode. Now, here comes the brass tacks. Would I recommend the DLC? This is the end of the Silver Edition Content Pass, so would I recommend Boys in Blue? Yes. And no. For what it is, if you had to pick one thing up from this chapter, I'd get the weapon pack. As a heist, Boys in Blue is solid, but nothing to write home about as a masterpiece. It's not bad. It does stand out from the rest of the heists in Payday 3, but when looking back on what's been done, I can't say it's anything special. However, at the price of $11.99 for the whole chapter bundle, meaning guns, suits, and the heist, if you're comfortable spending that kind of money, be my guest. If you bought the DLC campaigns for Payday 2 and felt they were worth the price, you'll probably be satisfied with your purchase here. I couldn't, in good conscience, recommend Syntax Error as released due to its insane price and lack of content, which unfortunately isn't coming down, but we are getting more suits and guns to compensate sometime. But if what you've seen in this video and others has helped you inform your decision, that's all I can do at the end of the day. Now that is where I would normally end the review, but I want to quickly apologize for how long it's taken for this video to come out. Due to current events, I was without power for quite a while, and when I did have power, I was having to pick up debris of what was destroyed. So that didn't give me a lot of opportunities to sit down and edit. But one thing that did keep me going through all this was you guys. It was you guys sharing my videos, subscribing, leaving comments. Leaving comments is such a great thing to see. And I just wanted to quickly thank you all for your support, even though I haven't been actively uploading as much as I should be. So, thank you. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and a comment. Let me know what you thought of this update. If you like what you saw, go ahead and subscribe for more videos like this one, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on new uploads. That's all I got for now. See you guys.